Chapter 1. The discipline of curiosity. Most children would play with a compass for 5 minutes and then move on. Einstein's discipline was his refusal to look away. He was mesmerized by the fact that regardless of how he turned the casing, the needle remained fixed. Mental focus. He didn't just see a needle, he saw an invisible field. He disciplined his thoughts to ignore the physical object and hunt for the hidden cause. The lesson for you. Daily discipline begins by choosing a compass, a core goal or question, and training your mind to return to it whenever external distractions try to spin your casing. Rejecting the surface world. The first miracle teaches us that reality is rarely what it appears to be on the surface. Discipline means distrusting the obvious. While others accepted that things just are, Einstein's thoughts were disciplined to ask, by what mechanism? In your daily life, this means looking past the noise of social media, emails, and trivial tasks to focus on the magnetic forces that actually drive your long-term success. The power of wonder as a habit. Einstein didn't just experience wonder once, he made it a daily mental ritual. He famously said he had no special talents, only that he was passionately curious. Active inquiry. To discipline your thoughts daily, you must actively wonder about your work or goals. Visualizing the invisible. Just as the quanta and space-time clouds flowed in the image, Einstein's mind was constantly populating his world with mental models of things he couldn't see. Anchoring your day. The compass in his hand is his anchor. In the chaos of the world, symbolized by the view of burn out the window, he remains centered. The morning compass practice. Spend the first 10 minutes of your day holding your first miracle in your mind. Define your intent so clearly that, like the magnetic needle, your focus remains locked on your true north, no matter what storms occur during your 9 to 5. By mastering this first step, you build the mental stamina required for the much harder chapters of life, like the 10-year struggle for general relativity seen further in the image. In the provided image, the Bern patent office window and the papers scattered across Einstein's desk represent the second stage of his journey, the fortress of the focused mind. Chapter 2. The Patent Clerk Protocol. Building a Mental Fortress. In 1902, Einstein was far from a legend, he was a technical expert third class. While the image shows him in his later years, the background highlights the dual reality he lived in Bern. He didn't have the luxury of a quiet university office, he had a noisy, bureaucratic job. His discipline was not about finding more time, but about intensifying the quality of the time he had. The discipline of dual channels. Einstein treated his mind like a high-performance engine with 2 gears. In one gear, he was a meticulous clerk, examining patent applications for clocks and telegraphs. In the other, he was deconstructing the universe. He disciplined himself to switch channels instantly. The moment a patent file was closed, his mind was back on the nature of light. The secret drawer habit. Legend says he kept his physics notes in a secret drawer to hide them from supervisors. This is the ultimate metaphor for daily discipline, guarding your deepest purpose from the prying eyes of a world that wants you to be busy with trivialities. He didn't let the job define his identity, he let his discipline define his reality. Mastering the art of deep work. The 1905 papers seen on the desk in the image, his Annus Mirabilis, were born in this period. To achieve this, Einstein had to master what modern psychologists call deep work. Triviality versus transcendence. Most people spend their mental energy on shallow thoughts, emails, chores, social gossip. Einstein disciplined his thoughts to spend zero energy on the trivial. He wore the same style of clothes and kept a simple routine to avoid decision fatigue. Focus as a muscle. By forcing himself to concentrate intensely on patents for 8 hours and then pivoting to physics, he built immense mental stamina. Discipline isn't a state of being, it's a muscle you build by doing hard, boring things well. The lesson for your daily life. To discipline your thoughts like the patent clerk, Einstein, you must stop waiting for the right time to start your great work. Exploit the margins. Einstein's legends were written in the gaps of his day, commutes, lunch breaks, and quiet evenings. Discipline means recognizing that 15 minutes of deep focus is worth 5 hours of distracted work. Create a mental secret drawer. No matter how mundane your daily job is, keep a part of your mind reserved for your first miracle. Never let your environment dictate the ceiling of your potential. The efficiency reward. Einstein finished his daily clerk work faster than anyone else so he could earn the right to think. Discipline your thoughts to be efficient in your chores, so you can be expansive in your passions. As seen in the image, the path to the warp spacetime and general relativity began at that desk in Bern. Without the daily discipline of the clerk, the genius of the legend would never have surfaced. Chapter 3 in the image, the swirling, warp spacetime, grid and the glowing, quanta, clouds represent Part 3, the architecture of thought experiments. Einstein achieved legendary status not by spending more time in a laboratory, but by mastering the daily discipline of visualization. While others were crunching numbers, Einstein was mentally living inside his theories. The power of the Gedanken experiment. Einstein's greatest breakthroughs came from what he called Gedanken experiments, thought experiments. He disciplined his thoughts to create mental movies, so vivid they functioned like real physics experiments. The visualization. He didn't just think about light, he imagined himself riding a beam of light and looking in a mirror. He didn't just think about gravity, he imagined a man falling inside a windowless elevator in deep space. The lesson. Daily discipline means training your brain to see your goals as finished realities. If you can't see it in the theater of your mind, you will never build it in the physical world. Sustaining the mental image. Most people's thoughts are like a flickering light bulb, constant but scattered. Einstein's mind was a laser. He would hold a single mental image for years. Rigorous detail. In the image, look at how the grid of spacetime is meticulously warped by the heavy mass of the sphere. Einstein had to discipline his mind to account for every variable, time, speed, and light within that mental picture until the math eventually followed the vision. The lesson. Discipline your thoughts to stay with a problem longer. Don't just identify a challenge, inhabit it. Spend time every day refining the mental details of your strategy until the solution becomes a physical sensation of clarity. Trusting intuition over common sense. The warp spacetime in the image contradicts everything we see with our eyes. Our common sense tells us the floor is flat and time is constant. Einstein had the mental discipline to reject his senses when they conflicted with his logical intuition. Defying the majority, he disciplined his thoughts to ignore the ridicule of scientists who told him space couldn't bend. He trusted his inner mental architecture over the external reality of his peers. The lesson. Part of your daily discipline is guarding your vision from cynicism. Use your thought experiments to build a private world of possibility that isn't limited by what others say is realistic. The bridge between what is and what if. In the image, the papers for GPS and laser sit on his desk. These technologies didn't exist in his time, yet they are direct results of his disciplined imagination. Thinking into the future. Einstein disciplined his thoughts to look at the hidden gears of the universe. He wasn't interested in the world as it was, he was interested in the laws that made it work. The lesson. Every day, ask yourself, what if, instead of just, what is? Discipline your thoughts to move from being a consumer of your current life to an architect of your future one. By mastering this stage, Einstein moved beyond being a clever clerk, Part 2, to becoming the man who reshaped the stars. He didn't just think about the universe, he re-visualized it until the universe had no choice but to agree with him. Chapter 4. The discipline of sustained endurance. This is the hardest part of the story. It covers the 10-year, dark tunnel, 1905 to 1915, where Einstein had to discipline his thoughts to survive a decade of failure, mathematical dead ends, and public skepticism. The marathon of a single idea. Most people think in sprints. They get a great idea, work on it for a week, and quit when it gets hard. As the image shows, Einstein's journey wasn't a straight line, it was a complex warp. The struggle. After his 1905 breakthrough, Einstein realized his theory of relativity didn't account for gravity. He spent the next decade obsessed with this one missing piece. He had to discipline his mind to return to the same problem every single morning for 3,650 days. The lesson. Legendary status isn't won in a moment of eureka. It is won in the years when nothing seems to be happening. Discipline your thoughts to stay in the room with the problem long after the initial excitement has faded. Intellectual honesty and negative knowledge. During this decade, Einstein went down dozens of wrong paths. He would spend months on a complex mathematical proof only to realize it was flawed. The grit. Instead of getting discouraged, he disciplined his thoughts to view these failures as negative knowledge. He was narrowing down the truth by eliminating what was false. In the image, the scattered papers on the desk, unified field theory, GPS, laser, represent the thousands of pages of failed math that paved the way for his final success. The lesson: discipline your thoughts to value the process over the result. Don't view a setback as a sign to stop. View it as a data point that directs you closer to the true north of your compass. The refusal to settle. Einstein could have retired after 1905 as a famous scientist. But his discipline was rooted in a refusal to accept half-truths. Special relativity was only half the story. He had to find general relativity. Mental purity. He ignored the prestigious job offers and the distractions of fame to keep his inward eye on the warping of spacetime. He lived a simple, almost monastic life at his desk because his thoughts were entirely consumed by the first miracle of how the universe works. The lesson: high-level discipline requires saying no to good things so you can say yes to the one great thing. Protect your mental energy from success traps that want to keep you comfortable. Bending reality through will. The warped spacetime in the image finally became a reality in 1915 because Einstein refused to let his mind be straitjacketed by the physics of his time. He bent the math until it fit his vision. The breakthrough: when he finally succeeded, he had aged significantly, and his hair had turned the iconic white we see in the center of the image. The price of this legend was a decade of total mental immersion. The lesson: to change your world, you must first allow your thoughts to be warped by your vision. Discipline your mind to believe in your impossible goal so intensely that, eventually, reality has no choice but to bend and accommodate you. By mastering this stage, Einstein proved that endurance is the highest form of discipline. He didn't just have a good idea, he had the mental iron to see it through to the end of the universe. In the final section of our visual journey, we see the older, iconic Einstein at his desk in Princeton, surrounded by the fruits of his labor: papers labeled laser, GPS, and the unfinished unified field theory. This is part 5, the discipline of the eternal student. Einstein achieved legend status not because he reached a finish line, but because he never stopped running. 1. The humility of not knowing. By the time Einstein moved to Princeton, seen through the right window, he was the most famous man on Earth. Most people at that stage stop learning and start protecting their reputation. Einstein did the opposite. He spent his final decades chasing the unified field theory, an attempt to find one single master equation for the entire universe. The discipline: he was willing to be a beginner again every single day. He spent 30 years failing at this final goal, yet he never felt like a failure because his discipline was in the search, not the trophy. The lesson: to maintain your edge, you must discipline your thoughts to remain hungry. Never let your past successes become a straitjacket that prevents you from asking new, difficult questions. 2. Thinking for the invisible future. Look at the labels for GPS and laser on his desk. When Einstein was scribbling his equations, these technologies were decades away from existing. He disciplined his thoughts to solve problems that the rest of the world didn't even know existed yet. The visionary mind. He wasn't thinking about the next paycheck or the next award, he was thinking about the fundamental hardware of reality. The lesson: discipline your thoughts to think in decades, not days. Ask yourself, what can I build today that will matter long after I am gone? True legends are those whose daily discipline creates a ripple effect that carries into the future. 3. The unified field of your own life. The blackboard behind him shows $E equals mc squared $, linking atoms to galaxies. This represents the ultimate goal of mental discipline: integration. Einstein wanted to show that everything, light, gravity, time, and matter, was part of one beautiful, harmonious system. The lesson: discipline your thoughts to find the connections in your own life. Your health, your work, your relationships, and your spirit are not separate compartments, they are one field. When you discipline one area, you improve the gravity of all the others. 4. The final pencil stroke. Legend has it that Einstein's last act on his deathbed was to reach for a pencil and continue working on his unified field equations. He died with unfinished business, and that is exactly why he is a hero. The enduring legacy. As shown in the image, he is flanked by his younger self, the rebellious patent clerk, and his older self. The discipline remained the same from start to finish. The final lesson: discipline is not a task you finish, it is a lifelong companionship with your own potential. Like the first miracle of the compass he still holds in his hand, your thoughts should always be pointed toward the truth until your very last breath. Einstein didn't become a legend, He practiced being one every single morning at his desk. To turn the legend of Einstein into your own reality, you must move from passive wonder to disciplined action. Here is your call to action. 1. Identify your first miracle. Stop trying to focus on everything. Like the compass in Einstein's hand, find the one invisible force or goal that truly fascinates you. Spend 15 minutes today in total silence, asking yourself, if I could solve one big problem in my life or the world, what would it be? 2. Build your patent office fortress. You don't need a perfect life to do great things. Identify your secret drawer, a specific time and place, even just 30 minutes at a messy desk, where you are no longer a clerk, a student, or an employee. In this space, you are an architect of your own vision. Guard this time ruthlessly. 3. Run a thought experiment daily. Before you touch your phone tomorrow morning, perform a Gedanken experiment. Visualize your biggest challenge as a physical object. Move around it in your mind. If you change one variable, your attitude, your timing, your method, how does the shape of the problem change? 4. Commit to the 10-year warp. Accept right now that greatness is a marathon of focus. When you feel like quitting because you haven't seen results in a week, look at the warped space-time in the image. Remember that Einstein spent 10 years in the dark to find the light. Discipline your thoughts to value persistence over speed. 5. Remain the eternal student. Never let what you know stop you from what you can become. End every day by writing down one thing you realized you were wrong about or one thing you want to learn tomorrow. Keep your compass in your hand until the very end. The universe only bends for those who refuse to stop looking at it. What is the one small habit you will start tomorrow morning to begin disciplining your thoughts?